Hello. Hello. How are you all doing today? Also, look, I'm fancy. I have the animations and things. And thank you for that reminder, by the way. It was very useful. I've got wobble. I've got lean. I've got vague mouth tracking. I've got blinking. I've got some eye movement. Oh, is it audio? Hey, yay, yay. Just wanted to- How do I use this thing again?
Is that any better? Hello, hello? Do we have quiet? Why is it? Okay, well, maybe if I just turn the dials all the way up, it will sound better. Fingers crossed. Okay, well, with any luck, it now you can all hear me. Oh, is the background loud? Is that better? Do we have a nicer balance now? Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Anyway. Yeah, well, great to see you all again. It has been a little while. I took a little break from, well, doing anything on the game. And also syncing up the streaming. But here we are. In my break as well, I thought, let's try and make the old animations a bit more exciting. Add a stab at doing a full VTuber model, and good lord, that is a lot of work. So here you have the halfway house. We have 5 mouth positions, we have eye movement, blinking, and some wobble. That's probably as much as I'm going to do for now, and we can do fancier stuff at some point in the far, far future. Maybe I'll pay someone to do it, who knows. But yes, on to the game. It has been quite a busy week, actually. We got a whole load of stuff in. Looking forward to releasing all that this weekend. Oh, thank you very much, Inan. That is... good lord, have I actually been streaming for 3 months? Where's the time gone? Suddenly I feel shocked. Yeah. Well, it's certainly been busy time. Right, what was I doing? Yes, we were working on the Sect system. That's what we were doing. Sect system. So I did take some interesting detours along the way. Try and flesh out some of the content that we need for, well, to make life flourishing and actually full realm. But currently, we've just secretly released the extension of the Celadon Flame Brewers. It needed to go out because we needed a bug fix and it was in anyway. So that'll be as part of an announcement this weekend, as well as some other stuff coming out. And beyond that, it has been just poking away at the little bits and pieces around that giant system that we keep talking about. So as you can see here, we have lots of files in progress, and today we'll start working through that. This is as usual, first pass stab that the agents have taken at the problem. And so we need to obviously check if it's any good and also flesh it out. So we have 9 Mountain Sect disciples need to have unique art. We need items and rewards for the old Sect promotion tournament. We need a 3rd mountain art. And we need to start fleshing out what's on 3rd mountain. And as you will see here, no 3rd mountain. What? Why? I was about to say, look, there's a 3rd mountain, but apparently it's decided to up and leave in between me checking this 30 minutes ago and starting the stream. I was deleting things, so maybe I deleted the one thing that makes 3rd mountain appear. So we'll have a little look at that in a sec. Oh, it's never simple. We do maybe want to start with fleshing out some nicer art. The cultivators for... Well, that all of our now 9 Mountain Sect cultivators are using generic art at the moment, which makes them kind of a little bit boring to look at. Could we have... Yeah, it's... Oh, wait, 1 second. I'm showing the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, now you can see. We have this art at the moment is what we're using, but that's just generic character art. We don't want that. We want something a little bit more shiny. Maybe a little bit of gold in the color palette would be nice. So we'll start off with generic cultivator man, grayscale 1 man. Let's see what it gives us. So we need a lot more characters for the sect. We need obviously the roster of outer disciples. We also need a roster of inner disciples and core disciples, and then also potentially at least 1 more elder. That they all should have unique art, so that they look good. They should also, probably quite a few of them should have some sort of interaction. Now, as you'll all know, with the last release, we did a change to the way that charisma works, to make charisma actually give the ability to get more characters to follow you around, and reducing the restriction on characters to no longer be tied to being a lover/permanent relationship. It's now simply attached to, well, it's simply your party size, which means that we want a lot more characters who do actually have things to do. The interactions, follow things, to kind of give you that feeling of, this is a sect of people that are allies with you and companions, and you're all working on the same side. This person looks way too fancy to be an outer disciple. Maybe like a young man. What sort of description should we have for like an outer disciple? A bit of a disheveled servant. Yeah. Maybe something like that. Maybe we'll get closer to what we're looking for. Yeah, a little bit villager looking. Something that sort of gives the I'm just starting on my journey. They're still pretty powerful. Like, outer disciples, they're still significantly stronger and more influential than just normal people. But they are not at the level of, a big old fancy cultivator. Now, on the side of doing all of this secty things, I've also been working on 2 more characters. Essentially, I've been going through Yanan's list of stuff that we should have for world building purposes. And so there's some story there that needs to be finished off. So we could do that as well, depending on if I get bored along the way of faffing with a giant Sect system. Okay, we've got some younger looking. You submitted quite a few, and they've been sort of like ticking over in the background on my I mean to deal with this list. I think this one's got, give them a bit of genericness around the face. Maybe, yeah. At the moment, so one other thing that's been on the old list has been to update the models. So there's some really cool new models that have been coming out recently, specifically the Anima range, that are less, well, they're more tunable, and they will follow instructions a bit clearer. Hopefully, I can get some time to try and train those to reduce some of this patternness. Yeah, I'd probably just overlay him entirely in gold. You know what? Let's just go ahead and fire up the old Studio Paint. Here you go. You can look at my eyes all zoomed in. Ain't that lovely? Nope, that is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to open it in... Oh, Lord. Where has it gone? There we go. Where's my pen gone? Well, my tablet pen has vanished, so that's a good start. Ah. It had fallen onto the floor. Okay, so right, let's rearrange my desk slightly. The one issue of having the mic is I actually have to sit close to it to actually be heard. I have to pull all of my keyboards and tablets and things over towards me. Okay, so obviously the first step normally with these is to remove the eyes. Get that stuff out of here. And we put a darker arc over the face. There we go. Now he's thoroughly creepy. Just that down a smidge. Something like that. Looks beautiful, does it not? Close enough. Now, the next part is giving it a little bit of a tint. We want to sort of give it that hint of being Nine Mountains. So that is gold. Gold's their theme. Now we can just put that as a little colour overlay. Give it the slightest touch. Something like that. And we have a little bit of a gold tinted generic character. Hopefully something that makes it look, if not clear, at least consistent with a palette that says this is associated with this group. We have a kind of pale bluish for the Heavenly Swords. We have obviously the greenish for the Great Serpent. And then we have just plain grey for everyone else. Gee, what did we have for like free cultivators? I feel like they had a little tint. Or maybe we didn't at all. Where does F come in the alphabet? It is 4G. Yes. Yep, they're just grey. Okay, cool. So that means that we can happily have that gold. Yep, see, Grin plans very carefully. Make sure that we have our consistent colour always. Where is one? Here we have. Look at that. Very bright, celestial looking. Lovely. And with a nice spiky sword. Always trust Grin. He always knows what he's doing. Okay, so we have a little lovely goldish overlay. Save that one. Now, oh, what? Where'd it go? There we go. Okay. So we could generate the poses. They're really slow, so I'm not going to do them on stream because we don't want to be staring at this for like 10 plus minutes of me just generating poses over and over. We'll instead work through the others. So I guess realm ranges should probably be the... Actually, what realm range? I think it's Inner Disciple going from like key condensation upwards. If I'm vaguely remember. No, did not write it down there. Did I write it down here? There we go. Yeah, so Inner Disciple is like mid MO to QC. So generally QC characters are expected to be Inner Disciple. So we will make the threes here. Male cultivated 3, female cultivated 3 inners. So make them a little bit fancier in some fashion. Okay, so we have our male cultivator 1. Let's do male cultivator 2. This one should probably look a little bit fancier. Sparklier, maybe? Wait, what was our... Ah, we lost the prompt. A male... male... One man... Young... Man... One boy. Let's try and bring down the age a little bit. Generic man... Grayscale. Now, of course, we can grayscale myself. But it's easier to generate a grayscale up front because that way the colours are nicely differentiated instead of collapsing. Yeah, 2's MO. 3 is key condensation, so 3 is when we'll transition to inners. We'll say that body forging and region openings for the first 2 are outers. Then we need some proper fancy ones for the cores, which will be QCCF PC. The first image was for body forging, yes. We might swap them if we can get like a younger looking one this time round. Yeah, okay, we should probably swap these, looking at what we got here. Maybe that one's not bad, actually. Slightly different pose. I really wish I could get rid of these annoying halo things. That's just going to require retraining the models in general. I do like this one. This one is a bit more like hunched and guarded, though. Scarf? You mean the halos? Or you mean these shoulder things? I mean, a lot of the issues come from the training data. Like, yeah, the halos. Some of that is corruption. So if you'll see, I don't think I have any good examples. Oh, here we go. You see here. Oh, that is off screen. 1 second. Okay, should be on screen now. Actually, you know what? I should probably just do this, and we can see. You see this beam here? This is essentially, this is what sometimes happens when you just cut the alpha channel from a RGBA image, because of the way that a lot of these files compress them and or I guess just process the alpha channels. There's these like beams of color that run through the background that if you just cut the alpha without re-multiplying it down, you get these artifacts. Now, I think when I did my training, I didn't correctly remove the alpha channel. And that meant that a lot of the training data had these corrupt artifacts in them. And so that's part of why they appear. I think this is partially what causes this. These sort of halos is because of the background corruption. What the model did when it was trained is it assumed that they were intentional, and they kind of got brought towards that halo effect that is baked into some Chinese art, and it means that they are extra common or extra likely to generate them. So ideally what I do is I actually prepare my training data properly and retrain the models. It's a lot of work though, right? It's a real pain. Training all of the current set of models was such a long period of time. I don't want to faff around with it too much more. But yeah, I think that's why we have all of these issues. Yeah, I did have a play around with Anima, and it was looking interesting. It's just that you need to relearn. The tutorials aren't good, should I say. And they never are, because all of these models, they move so fast, there's not enough time for people to write really robust tutorials on how to train. They just assume that everyone will take the effort to learn the intricacies of the models themselves. As a result, you kind of just have to figure it out for yourself. And for me, that has been just try random stuff until it works. And that's exactly the same as I need to do with the new models. Is go back to the drawing board of, what training data, how to caption them, how to prepare them, what sizes should they be trained at, how many epochs should there be, what are the I don't even know. There's 100 different settings you can set that change how it works, and yeah. However, saying all of that, now that the temperature is dropping here in the UK a little bit, I will be more incentivized to use my desktop to do things, because I also get to warm my feet at the same time if I do so. So there's, you get the benefit of both. It's still a bit too warm to do that at the moment, but give it a little bit longer, and it will definitely be worth firing that stuff off. But with that massive tangent out of the way, I like this one. It's got energy to him. Let's bring him in, and then let's fix his art. Right, where is he? I'm gonna swap them before I do anything else. You can become that. You can become that. Cool. Oh. Let's open that in Clip Studio Paint. Let's put that on screen. Here we go. So this one is now the body forging one. So we have adjusted. The other one we just made has now become the meridian opening one. It does look a little bit more bit older. So same treatment. First step is remove the eyes, hide them away. Make him look obviously as a character that is not important. I think it's very important to do that so that the player doesn't waste time and energy on assuming that, you know, a background character is something they need to care about. You know, one day, I would love to take the time to actually learn to draw. In fact, I was actually doing just that when... Good lord, what was it? Would it have been like 3 years ago now? 4 years ago now? Something like that. And then I found out about AI art. Because the goal always was learn to draw so I can make a game. Or you know, I think at the time I was wanting to learn to draw so I could make art for my story. I was writing a book at the time, which you can read on Royal Road. It's not super, and it's been abandoned for a couple of years in favour of Ascend from Nine Mountains, but it's there. But yeah, the intention was always as a means to an end. And then finding AI to do the same thing for me, I was like, well, I prefer to just make the thing that I am, you know, I want it for, rather than spend the time to learn the art. But when I have time, I would love to go back and actually learn to draw. Like, I'd love to learn to draw something like this. That'd be cool. Immensely time-consuming, of course, but it'd be fun. It would be fun. We give this the same... where is Layer? There it is. Duplicate, that's the one I wanted. Color, take it down. Let's just check the other one for consistency. We're a bit bright. It might be easiest to open it. A little bit more. Yeah, there we go. And then let's update their portraits. We have the younger one. And then we'll add the older one too. Oh, I have minimized everything. Really? Okay. Windows is, if you drag something too vigorously, it just decides to minimize every single tab. Where the hell is that image, that portrait gone? I think I've moved it to my desktop or something? Yeah, I straight up deleted it. That's just brilliant. Could be. It's gonna like appear in a month's time, hidden under something else. It doesn't matter. We'll just make a new copy. There we go. Okay, we have our, I guess, younger two disciples. So this one and then this one for body forging and region opening. So now let's try and make some slightly older looking ones for our core formation. So key condensation. Now, that is obviously currently it's being used for that. It is, however, we need to split them because they need to be more clearly inner and outer disciples. So I think it's currently called outer disciple of somewhere. Where's the names? Yeah, so outer disciple of the 9 mountains. So this one now should become inner disciple of the 9 mountains. I never use this. Let's just... Yeah, they're actually optional, so we can just remove them. Okay, so this is where they get a bit fancier. As I said, actually, you know what? Just as an example, let's see how long this will take to see how it does the poses. Now this one as well, I have been doing some experimentation with Minimax H3. So currently the way that we do poses is through the Quen models. They're okay, but Minimax definitely is a more powerful and promptable family. And it does run locally. So another thing on my list of stuff to do is to go and get Minimax and use that to then build out a animation or pose pipeline. And hopefully it will be much more... There'll be much more interesting poses. But again, it's another thing for the giant list of stuff to do. There's never enough time in the day to do everything. So the way this works is, for those of you excited or interested, it's going to take the image as the first image in an image to video pipeline with a prompt, well, with this prompt that you can see right here actually. The subject is blasted backwards, recoiling hard to the left from a heavy impact, facing right, camera lock, no zoom, no pan, full body in frame. It will then render a 20 frame video, I think. And from those, it will select 5 frames at an equal distance through the pose, skipping the first, I think, like quarter on the assumption it's not very good. Then for each of those, it's going to, if the image clips the borders, it's going to out paint the image using no idea. It's using a model with outpaint capabilities and essentially continues extending the image out in the direction that it clips until it doesn't clip anymore. And then it produces these. So you can see here, this is probably as close to our start image as you can get. And then it's going to have a little impact. Though it does sort of collapse, as you can see here. This is one of the things that I was quite impressed with Minimax in my testing, is it didn't have this image collapse that Quen is quite commonly does, where essentially parts of the image doesn't really understand. It just essentially degrades it to just a blur. This one is probably pretty good, or if we want to go a smaller impact, this one. I think we'll go for a smaller impact. This is probably a little bit extreme. Also, there's some weirdness up here, which I don't really like. Okay, we'll use this one. But this is the flow. All of that work, it's all baked into this plugin, and it makes it really easy because I have the in-editor, what are they called? Code Spy, I think it is, like pop-ups. I can click. It then uses the past AST of the file to figure out what image is being referenced, and then allow me to generate stuff from it. It's a really, really slick workflow. Yes, that will be my after stream job of just going through and generating them all. For now, let's make a fancier inner disciple. One man, inner disciple, fancy Chinese robes, grey scale, generic character, Sancha, and something on signs. It's the classic throw keywords at the wall and see what sticks. Yep. We do, as I've mentioned before, we are looking for an artist, though sadly there hasn't been many applicants, and there's been some issues with arranging all the right paperwork to get it progressed. But hopefully it's something that will eventually bear fruit, and we'll get someone to redraw some of the more impactful characters. First on the list is Beishi G. I wasn't a massive fan of how much towards the chibi end it went. I think Beishi G, Amar, and actually most of the player character images are on that pile of stuff which is more closer to how the models used to behave. That we want to move away from. So they'll probably all be replaced. Especially with the player characters, one of the things that we'll likely do is just cut out most of them, or probably all of them, and have a new set of character images that have a lot more poses, a lot more dynamics, maybe different sets of animations for each cultivation realm, and things like that, to really make them feel more of a character. Something that reacts. And we've got some solid ones here. Obviously, a lot of these are unusable with all of this nonsense. This one's pretty good. Yeah, I think your character is very important in making sure that you feel connected to the game. And we built all of these cool things that will allow you to have like condition-based custom poses and images, like for example when you're injured or whatever, for people making custom characters. But then their custom characters had more work put into them than the official characters, which kind of sucks. So that's definitely something we want to improve, as well as the whole new game flow, with hard mode and character creation, all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of things I'd like to improve there. So this one versus this one. Yeah, I think what we'll probably also have is a option, maybe a advanced settings option that allows you to still select the old character images for those who have a personal connection to them. But in general, I kind of want to replace all of the player character images. They are... Yeah, I don't think they're a very good representation of the game. They are very inconsistent in their art style and the proportions. There's loads of like visual corruption all over them. In general, not my favourite. Outdated, yeah. This one is fine. This one's good enough. So this is our new first of our inner disciples. Again, let's spruce them up. Look at this. Yeah, I mean, the one with tearing I would have to manually fix, but I think this is a better pose as well. It's a little bit more neutral. A little bit more of something we can use throughout the game. Let's grab ourselves a nice shadow colour, probably his neck. Oh, that is not a good arc. Yeah, that's probably good. Yep, the eyes will be removed. He's going to become creepy. I did find it kind of amusing, seeing those posts in the channel about people going, "Oh yeah, the Star Raiders are a bit creepy." Like, yep. I think someone also pointed out that, or mentioned that they got kind of jump scared of seeing these faceless characters, as if it was like some sort of horror game. That did make me laugh. Well, I have a tablet. It's easier. Might as well get my money's worth, you know. I love drawing on the graphics tablet. It is just so smooth to do. It feels satisfying, you know. Bit of a lump there. And we aren't going quite to the edge down here. There we go. Neat. Duplicate it, lock the path, slap on some gold. Let's the color overlay and bring our opacity down to like that. I think looks good. And then we can also update his portrait. Left arm is transparent. Oh lord, so it is. Good spot. That's the old background removal. Going a little bit haywire. Slap a bit of black in the back there. Oh, you know what? Probably that should all be black. Probably all of that too. Probably all of this. And all of this. He was actually a ghost. He was full of holes. There we go. Ooh. That's now his fancier golden version. Oh, I see a bit of black down there. Can't be having that. There we go. Cool. Well, there we go. We've got our lovely golden set of characters for the males. Now we can make the women. Where is the game? There we go. Sorry, the code. So, female cultivator. Again, similar approach. We want to make sure that the first one is quite young. One girl, one generic woman. Grayscale. Young woman. See what it produces. Hopefully, whatever it makes me won't get me banned. Always a risk generating female characters with these models. Yeah. So I was using Nano Banana to fix hands on some of the models, and it just refused to do Needle Fairy entirely. It would just constantly safety filter me. So I actually had to give up on doing that, and just try to draw it by hand. That was a real pain. Okay, they all have halos, which is a pain. Guess we'll have to edit those out ourselves. This has sort of like... Take off the eyes. It's got some good sort of, younger sister energy. Too much thigh on that one. This one would be good if you actually had fingers. The old edit... What's it called? The old background removal has removed it until she just has little spikes. Bit of a shame, that one. Yeah, they're going to get chilly legs. Can't have that. This was not bad, actually. So, another good one. Yeah, let's see if we can get younger sister. See what that produces. Of these two, I think the sleeves give too much, impact for the, the body forging version. Maybe this would be like a slightly higher realm variant. They kind of make her seem a bit more elegant. Yeah. So maybe it is sleeve volume is a sign of your progression in the sect. I mean, if you think about it, it's probably not far off, right? The higher the realm you are, the more impressive your sleeves become. Okay, what we got here then? Oh, we got a bit of sass. That's not bad, actually. Though again, we probably want to sort of like redraw this bit here, so hasn't got her legs out. This one's a bit more older looking, generally because of the proportions. I think it's generally like the head size and the body proportions. Yep, giant sleeves. That was not bad. That was not bad at all, actually. Okay, so we have our, I'd say, top 3 here. Top 4. Yep, not this one. Let's close these others. I did not mean to close that one. Which one was that? That was... this one? I like this one more than this one. So between these two... yeah, the hair is just a bit of a joke, really. I mean, obviously these are all background characters, so the assumption is the player won't be spending too much time looking at it, and anyone who complains... ooh. Wow, nice one, VS Code. Yeah, anyone who complains will then mean that we can spend our time on fixing that character up to have better art. Or the other alternative is I try and fix the pipeline to not chop fingers and hair quite so aggressively. That's another option as well. Having the ability that one of the things that I really hope we get on models coming up is the ability to natively generate transparency. Because constantly having to hack it in after the fact is just so annoying. Personally, I think this one, number 15, is the winner. Yeah. Let's cut out that halo. Oh, good lord. Having chopped these out as well. Yeah, one day it's going to just become more viable to fix the models to not do this nonsense than it is to constantly have to cut them out again. Yeah. It is a pain. Oh, screw it. Let's generate some more. Ay ay ay. Okay. Anyone with cutting required? Even this would be a real pain to cut. This one's not bad. It's not too much cutting. Is this number 3? Because I accidentally closed it before and I forgot. This one's pretty good, actually. Okay. Let's see what this next batch creates, and if not, we'll come back to her. Because that's just there. That arc, there. Okay, what we got here? If we're looking only at... Have you got, like, braids or something? No. Well, that's a no for that one. Ooh. Okay. That one's kind of cool, pose-wise. I do like the... yeah, the energy. Potentially. We'll see. Maybe we'll try and put that into the prompt for Inner. Again, decent energy, especially... And because her hands are in front of the sleeves, it didn't cut them, which is always nice. And that was pretty solid, actually, for just hanging around. But this one's maybe got better energy to it. This one, however, I think is the best one for our first body forging one. It's true. That's true. I can't argue with that. This one here. Maybe a bit of cleanup around there. Around there. Yeah. I mean, complete tangent here. This is such a cool little halo. And I love the details on the robes. And look at this. You know, this is maybe what we want to have for a... You know, for better animations. Maybe you have these kind of like halos appear behind your character based on the school you're most heavily using in your stance. That'd be pretty cool, right? I do want to add more particle effects and stuff at some point as well. That'd be good. Okay. Let's grab her. Yep. I mean, in general, I'd personally like to do a complete replacement of the entire combat system with something entirely different. So, visually, not the mechanics, visually. Some sort of actual thing that looks good when it's animating and not just a mess. But, you know, again, it's another thing on the giant pile of stuff that might happen at some point in the future that's probably too much work to do right now. So, we have some issues with the hair here, as you can see, where it's cut it. Yeah, Ascent from Nine Mountains 2 will definitely be focusing around having the combat visual experience be a core element. You know, being more auto battle and stuff. As I said, at some point I will just spend a week or so doing a complete tangent to build a prototype of that, just for fun. And to check that my idea is actually possible. What has it done here? Really mangled a lot of it. Just cut some stuff out. If I mess up, I can always just restore the file. Okay, what is... Maybe this should be like a more wispy. Who knows if that looks any good. I'm no artist. Just a lowly programmer doing his best. Put a background on this so I can actually see what I'm doing. That's not really that useful as a background. But let's make it as glaring as possible. There we go. Hopefully show up all the colour imbalances. You can really see that nonsense now, can't you? You just cut it further. I mean, let's see. Let's see how that looks. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Select blur border. Give it a bit 3 pixels. I mean, it shaved it down. Taken off some of the fuzzier bits. It's probably fine. No one's looking at the hair in any detail anyway. Yeah. Hey, look. When we can afford an artist to just redraw all of these, we'll be like, yo, fix this nonsense hair that we have here. Bit dark, I think. Yep, roughly a good arc. Okay, looks like we have an ad break in 5 minutes. Well, I'll quickly grab myself some more water. Yeah. We'll hopefully have the rest of the characters, well, at least their base images done quite soon. And then we can look at building some items. which is always exciting. I love making new items. Power creeping everything. Perfect. And then we will flatten that. Duplicate it. Give it the gold treatment. Yep, looks about the right shade. And then we just need to fix the portrait. Our first junior sister is sorted. Okay, so next we want a slightly older version. What's your problem? Oh yeah, I need to delete these portraits. Sometimes the script, when inserting the portrait, doesn't quite do it properly and creates a new one rather than reuse an existing. Okay, female cultivator, one girl. One girl is the key tag for gender for these models. And young woman. Theme, Chinese clothing, grayscale, generic, woman. These are obviously heavily biased towards that core visual identity of the existing ones. So hopefully we'll get something, you know, slightly interesting. There is a bit of a battle between consistency in visuals and enough variety to not look samey. So that's the other thing that we'll definitely get out of another training run one day. Now that we've got a lot more art assets, especially ones that have had a lot more work put into them, we have better training material. It all just sort of feeds around. Okay. I actually have younger versions here. Almost. Well, the younger one was a blonde. Not bad, actually. I feel like this one's pretty good. But a different pose is better. Yeah. Let's use her. And we have an ad starting in 5 seconds. So I will go grab a drink and we'll be back in 30 seconds or so. Hello again. Okay. So we have ourselves another base image to edit. Ad should have finished now. Hopefully. Yeah, again, I do apologise. I wish there was a way I could actually turn them off. But here we are. That's all. Nah. Good arc. Yeah, not bad. Fix that going over the edge. Okay. Fill in all of that nice area there. And the more I look at the amount of work required for the Sect system, the more it worries me slightly. It is such a significant undertaking. Hopefully, it comes out well. I mean, the amount of effort we're going to be putting in, really do hope it comes out well. Yep, that was the pain. We let a potential servant, slave, asset go. He wanted to complete his studies. So inconsiderate. It's a bit like Grin wants to have a job and do all of that when what he should be doing is working on the 7 from 9 mountains 100% of the time. There we go. Looks good. Oh. It's loading. Okay, there we go. Now we need to update the portrait. There we go. You got genericified. Yep, well, when your currency collapses properly, maybe I can afford to actually pay you. Who knows? We will pray for the downfall of the USA. So that is our female cultivator 2, and now we can move on to our first inner disciple lady. Now, obviously, we're going to need more. We're going to need to have probably the key condensation variant, but that'll be a problem for another time. We won't be doing that this stream. We want to make some items before we finish. One girl. Powerful woman. Generic woman. Grayscale. Chinese. Maybe some ornate robes. Along those lines. Annoyingly, there is obviously like young girl and there is mature woman, but there's no good training for woman in the middle, like in your 20s or something. There's no like standard term that you can put in that the model will recognize to produce something that isn't either one or the other. You're just, throwing it to the wind and being like, Jesus, take the wheel and all that kind of stuff by just using woman, which obviously covers all age ranges. Now, of course, you can try and hack it with negatives. I don't currently have support for providing negatives in these prompts. Let's generate another set. Obviously, she does look a lot more... She's got a lot more curves to her. And she's got a lot more womanly energy rather than girl. There's still a little bit of a pain with all of these corruptions here. We could cut them out. Let's see if we can get something that does need to be cut out. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Ooh, fancy wings. Where did the wings come from? Where in my prompt did it bring in wings? Do another one. I kind of like this one, actually. This one I think looks really cool. This one here. Let's see if we can get something better with this batch. If not, we'll take this one and we'll cut it out. But this one has my kind of energy to it. I like. Probably inappropriate for a member of the sect. But, you know, full colour version, this kind of pose, outfit, you know, a bit of a goth look to it. Could be amazing. That one's pretty good too. That's got a really good pose to it. As does this, actually. But this is a very it's like she's wearing trousers underneath her robes. I mean, it's cool. Probably the wrong kind of look. So I think it's between this one and this one. I think this one is better, personally. So we'll take that one and we'll cut it out. Okay, let's start removing this giant halo thing. Oops. We can cut it away from the hair. We can just use a magic wand select to cut out all the rest, or just flail around with the eraser. Once we don't have to be too worried about cutting something we don't want to cut. No, we've got some clearance there. That bit too. We don't have anything touching here, so we just need to cut this side. Where's my free lasso? There we go. Beautiful. Halo 3. Let's now... Oops. Remove her eyes. Use this shade. How's it look? Yeah, that looks fine. Yeah, looks like a good smooth arc. Now, yes, I could use, a path tool with curves and all that kind of stuff. It just feels nicer to freehand it a bit. I feel like the slight variation is nice. It adds a little bit to it, not feeling quite so, I don't know, perfect. And then maybe because everything isn't quite so perfect, you can pretend that the other errors are intentional rather than just laziness / inability to draw good. Yep, looks nice. Duplicate. Take it down to maybe 20, maybe a little bit. 22. Looks nice. I think I might just move her up a little bit, stop her touching the bottom edge. When you gonna? Clip Studio Paint doesn't like the fact to have like 1,000 tools, 1,000 windows open. Okay, there we go. One. There we go. So we've got our selection of different characters and I guess progressions of the characters. Let's do something else for a bit. Let's go ahead and think about some items. So we have ourselves a tournament. This is the Sect promotion tournament. It will be how it'll be on a timer, a schedule. Every 3 years, you'll have the ability to compete. And if you place high enough, you can get promoted to the next rank, I guess. So there's actually only going to be 2 of them, or 2 promotions. From Outer Disciple to Inner Disciple, and Inner Disciple to Core Disciple. Now, at each stage, we want to make sure that there is rewards both for placing well and for hitting the right thing. Now, Outer to Inner will be anyone in the last, essentially the top 8 will get promoted. You need to make it to the last 3 rounds, so you need to win 3 rounds. And then for the Core Disciple, it will probably be just the actual winner. So you need to actually win the whole thing. But we do want there to be things to get. So for the Outer promotion rewards, we have ourselves some base stuff. The standard money and favor. We'll have condensed key elixir maps, which will obviously always be useful. And then we want ourselves our fancy new things. So we have a talisman and a piece of clothing here. The 9-fold trial seal and the 9-fold trial mantle. Let's have a look at what these are. Well, this is boring, so we will definitely be replacing this one. I think we have a very, I think it's called like the Outer Disciple Seal, Outer Disciple Talisman. This is, again, similar concept, but we probably want a fancier version. Now, I was thinking, this is currently just a gain barrier at the start of the first 3 rounds. We probably want to have something a lot more exciting than this. I was thinking maybe one that acts as an emergency barrier. So after each technique, or the 3 times a combat, or something along those lines, if you're under 30% barrier after your technique, you gain 50% barrier, or something like that along those lines. So there is essentially, it's a more reactive version of the Ninefold Trial Seal. Yeah, similar. We could do if your barrier breaks, yeah. Yeah, actually that's a solid one. Let's do that one. And it is... Maybe we even attach it to the trigger. So it is immediate. You know, if your barrier breaks, it will immediately give you barrier. Of course you'll take that hit of damage, but yeah. Well, this is beginning of the game, rather than, later on. Now, we can have a stronger variant of it, which is the... If you ever drop under 50% barrier from damage, it will give you more barrier. Up to maximum times per combat, so that it's more useful to all builds. So, yeah, it is not just when you've completely run out, it's when you're getting low. We could maybe have a really higher version of it, which is if your barrier is at under 100%. So if any time you're dropping below your absolute max barrier, that's when it gives it to you. So yeah, where you can increase the threshold to make higher realm versions. So I think that would be cool. And it will just be useful for everyone, which is cool. Yeah, with a max count, not any time. It will be, 9 times a battle or something. So it will be this sort of emergency shield that will keep you alive, but it won't keep you alive forever. Now, we probably want different versions, so maybe we'll have a variant that is... Oh, actually, okay. Let's go back to the our outline for the different realms. This is the pattern we're going to be looking at. So we probably want the Outer Disciple tournament to be at Meridian Opening. So it's a Meridian Opening one. So it'll give you Meridian Opening rewards as well. You can obviously take it on at any realm, but the expectation would be Meridian Opening. Inner Disciple, then, similarly, the promotion one. Maybe we can put the promotion to Core Disciple at Core Formation with the assumption that you can do it whenever. If you want to take it on at Key Condensation, that's up to you. And then Elders will be at Pillar Creation. That would be the expectation. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. That means we need a set of Meridian Opening rewards. So this talisman here, we probably just wanted to make only a Meridian Opening variant. And then we'll make a separate one for, a higher realm. And maybe we can sell versions of it at even higher realms. Let me just move all this stuff back out the... Oh, what did I just press? Did I zoom in? How did I zoom in? Oh, sweet. I didn't know you could do that. Right. So, what should this be called? The basic version that's sold at Body Forging is just called the Outer Disciple Talisman. This is a reward for the promotion. Maybe we just call it Inner Disciple Talisman. Pretty basic. Follows the same pattern. Inner Disciple Talisman. I guess we can realm limit it. This is a bit more impressive. It could be an empowered one. How many times a battle should this trigger? So this will be the on break. Maybe make it 5. And this will be... let's have a look at the triggers. Oh, this game is so much code now. It started off so nice and small and manageable, and now it is a monster. Deal damage. Where is barrier? Barrier. Here's barrier. We put them all at the end. Trigger damage. Barrier. Didn't apply barrier damage. That where it does the dispatch. Do we not even have a trigger yet for barrier broken? Doesn't look like we do, actually. Well, that's step 1. We need to add a trigger. Okay, so we have our barrier stuff is here. This is all limited within a if barrier. Nope. Okay, well, we'll need to do that first. We can do a if. Is it barrier now? If E dot stats. Not E. If target dot stats dot barrier. I guess is less than or equal to 0. We can then fire off the trigger. Night night. Barrier broken. I want to trigger on the target. This is the target's barrier that broke. Give it the source and the barrier lost, maybe. Will be barrier cost. Yep, so that should hopefully trigger whenever you lose enough barrier to be under. Now we can attach that as a trigger on triggered buff effects. Trigger effects. And then it's this lot. So anytime we have our barrier broken, we restore this much barrier. Maybe we just increase that to 1. The flat amount based on the realm, so it's not useful forever. You'll need to get the higher realm versions of it to make it apply to higher realms. It'll also be craftable. So this is the other thing. The tournament will give you the recipe, just like the other tournaments do. So that means that... Oh, maybe we just give it more stack, but it can trigger more times for like the perfect version, or the plus version, to say. Eight. Let's make it 9. Almost twice as good. And it can be resplendent. So, a description of this. The original one was a talisman inscribed by now 9 mountain Sect disciples as part of their entrance examinations. Now, of course, we don't have the entrance examination. The player skips all of that as part of their, Tidal Fang entrance thing. But in theory, we may one day build that so you actually do craft this and the transport swords and the blades and stuff like that. Essentially, the generic stuff that is expected for you to be able to do. So, a talisman designed to protect an inner disciple of the 9 mountains. Keyed to the bearer's own deflective key. When the barrier protecting their life falls, it can immediately emit enough of the stored energy to protect them once more. Maybe to shield them once more. Use of reactive formations like this has been a long tradition in the hills of the 9 mountains, dating back to the days of the tribes of the Fist progenitors time. There we go. A little bit of lore in there as well. After all, as you saw with the Golden Path quest, they had a long tradition of exploring that kind of stuff, playing around with things like formations and concoctions and other stuff to keep themselves alive. This feels like a perfect example of something like that. So yeah, great. Right, let's get it a lovely icon. I kind of want a gold and blue shield bubble give it some example. Yeah, why not? Drop it down. Let's see what kind of stuff this comes up with. And we can also potentially make the higher realm versions as well. I guess. Why not? Oh, I just forgot. I do need to add it over here as well. Brighter version. Doesn't need any of this. Barrier broken. Ah. Wait, that's the messages. That's the wrong thing. I want to go to the log. We do. It's a bit fancier, isn't it? I like that one. Okay, so the combat log itself, I think, is written as a single block at the end as part of damage stages. Oops, that's not what I was going to do. We could probably actually calculate it based off the data we already have in here. We don't need an extra bit of information. When we write barrier, yeah, we can essentially write an extra part here as part of the remaining. If stage dot. Wait, no, where's the barrier after? Okay, yeah, fine. If stage dot barrier, if stage dot, not statement dot sync, stage dot barrier before. You know what? Let's stop being stupid about this. Const barrier remaining equals stage dot barrier before minus stage dot cost. And then the after would be this. Yeah, maybe we can put that as the value instead. So if this is less than equal to 0. Hello, hello, welcome. We can chuck a login as well, which is just a big old capital. It broke in it. Message. Barrier broken. What's effects? I don't think we need this. It's optional. It is. Cool. Uh-oh. Your barrier broke in it. This can then hopefully as well, because this is the path, the barrier broken actions will appear underneath this one as in the tree. Anyway, before I faff around with too much more stuff, we need to remember to add this to the other branch. Damage self. Otherwise, it would never trigger on those. So if you get a debuff, it would just ignore it, which would be less than ideal. There we go. Though it needs to be the other way around. Source target. No problem. Do we not call it path? That's... Oh my god, why did I... So lazy. No, that's not... F. Wait, I'm clicking the wrong button. Okay, let's try that one again. And let's click the right button this time. Okay. Place next one. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. Don't need this. Just path. There we go, much tidier. And now both paths actually correctly handle it. And hopefully we get a barrier broken message too, which would be good. Okay, so we've used this icon here for our talisman. And let's add it to the talismans list. Let's look at it in game, see what it looks like. Oh, let's make custom all out. Port const inner disciple talismans equals. We can import the full list. Okay. Let's see if we can give ourselves it. Where is our... There it is. Okay, well, we need to add a tooltip. That's we need to do that because it's naturally automatically generator. Good thing we checked that. There we go. We can have both on screen for now. When your barrier is broken, when your barrier is, we don't use the term barrier is broken. Maybe when you lose all your barrier. When you lose all your barrier, gain barrier.amount barrier and lose a stack. Seems good. Let's wait for the game to reload. There we go. And let's see how that looks now. Pretty solid. And that happens the first 9 times you lose all your barrier. Yeah, so this is an interesting one because it requires you to have barrier first. It's probably fine because you're probably building some yourself and then you'll skip back and do this. All in all, I think that's a very solid item. It kind of does... It should save you in some situations. I hope. And is a lot more effective than the Outer Disciple one because that only does... at the start of rounds. This one here. a starter feature round gain 7,000 barrier. That's cool. I like. So maybe we can have the scaling one, which is like the core disciple that does it at 50. Yeah, let's say that for another time. Let's have a look at the other item that is supposed to be given by the as a reward, which is a clothing item, if I'm not mistaken. Apparently, it's the ninefold trial mantle. Oh, that's the recipe, sorry. Where's the mantle itself? Here we go. Okay, currently this is boring. Really boring. We need a lot more to it. Now, as I am an adherent to... well no, we shouldn't have it be barrier focused. It should be probably a generic defense focused one because of the Sect's fist / blossom. So it has the full range of barrier layers. Well, we don't want it to be fist, like pure fist. Obviously only fist has temporary health. We want it to be suitable for others. Yeah. I'm wondering. Maybe we could have a similar concept, but it's interceptor? Something that reduces damage that might kill you? How strong? It could be like the life-saving talisman. Yeah. So it has a limited heal effect. Maybe wrap it in with a barrier as well, or maybe wrap it in with a temp health. So if a hit would reduce you... Wait. If you are dropped below 0, it will heal you and give you temporary health. And it will do that a certain number of times a combat. Maybe the first 3 times. And then it's actually really useful for things like blood. Or, you know, the progression would be. Because it can help with your... amplifications? Is that what they're called? I can't remember anymore. The 90% health sacrifice stuff you do. Kind of like that idea. It's just generally good. Like, you will never complain about having it because it will essentially save you from death. Actually, would you complain about having it? Because unless you're playing that kind of build, surviving death once probably isn't that useful because you're going to die afterwards. Maybe it should give you a power boost if you drop below. It kind of like, if you die, you will get stronger. And then that happens up to 3 times. Maybe... okay, let's say. If you drop below 0, it will heal you, give you temp health, and give you a permanent 20% power. And then that will essentially save you from death and give you the chance to recover. I think it'd be really strong, to be perfectly honest, which is cool. You know, I'm not against that idea. I think that's a very cool item to have anyway. Whether or not it's the Sect item is another question. Maybe it's something else? Well, it's not invuln exactly, because it does require you... It's going to be a fixed heal. So you can only reduce yourself so far below 0. You can't scale it to the point where you're invincible, and it's limited. It will happen a certain number of times. There's no way to restore it. But it will save you from a hit. Let you be a bit more reckless with some of your builds. Is that a good thing? Or was that a bad thing? That's the question. Okay, let's say we use that somewhere else. What would this do? I think probably early game, especially when you're going to be looking at this, there's probably a distinct lack of offensive armors or clothings. So maybe this should fill that niche of it being something that gives you an aggressive benefit of some description. Something that will boost your damage in some fashion. A damage amplifier. Just basic 10% damage amplification. Stacks with everything else. It would just be good. Explain. Boost your school's element. That's an interesting one. Yeah, kind of. But essentially these, where they are going to be rewards for winning the promotion, I don't want to make them Fist Blossom specifically, because it kind of penalizes 4/6 of the game. 2/3, there we go. Two-thirds of the possible builds, which is a shame. I'd ideally like to make all of the items you get from it useful to anyone. Yeah, I think maybe the Sect should have some more items that are good for Fist Blossom. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's something that could enable improved dual schooling earlier. Something that maybe maybe it is the first Fist Blossom dual school thing you can get super early. Something that converts between the two. Some sort of Fist, some sort of Fragrant Blossom to Flow conversion, or the other way around. You joke, but that's literally been on the list so long. Let's see if it's still there, actually. Oh, that's not what I want. I want types. Where's the types? Here we go. I think it'll be under location. Yeah, you see this here? The vault. This was always intended to be a treasure vault, where you enter this building that has a bunch of treasures, and you have the classic jade slip or whatever, It allows you to pick an item from the vault. You only get one, or potentially you can go in multiple times, but they have the larger things. Yeah, but they are very rare, and they will be limited. Maybe at max 3. This has been here since the very first version of the game. So can I? Look at that. 11/05/2023 is when that line was added. Over 3 years ago. Okay, yeah. I think this idea... Actually, you know what? Let's build it. Let's do the vault. Okay, so we need like 10 times more unique rewards. So thanks, Sakrin. Brilliant. But yeah, maybe it'll give the Jade Slip. And how high you place gives you a better one, maybe. And yeah, we need it for every realm. Potentially, what we'd have is the item, like the base version of the item is maybe, say, like 1. And if you want the recipe, it's 3. So you need to earn more. But if you have the recipe, you can craft the thing itself. And there'll be some items which don't have recipes associated, they're just the thing. Yeah. I think it's a cool idea, especially if we visually make it look fancy with the items being on pedestals and things like that. And maybe even if we show the future items, but you can't get them because you don't have the slip for it. So you can kind of look into the future to see like what you could have if you worked harder. Well, we want it to be that the recipes are rarer, because otherwise people will never get the items themselves. If it's 1 to enter the archive to get a recipe, that's the only thing people will ever do. And then we also need 2 buildings and things. It's probably easier just to have them all be in one. Yeah, but if it costs to enter, then they won't even look. Then, yeah, we can just assign the costs to the items based on what we think their relative value are. So for like, our classic stat pills, everyone loves a stat pill, it could be a more expensive one. Okay, well, given we just massively scope creeped what I was going to do for the early state, I'm not against it. I think probably focusing on there being rewards is probably the better way to focus on what the whole new system will be. Having it focus around these new Jade Slips as major rewards for certain tasks is probably better than Sect Favor, which it's really good. So we'll do that. It'll give us a bit more variety in the missions. I do feel like the Jade Slips, whatever, should actually be a limited resource. You should not be able to get everything in the vault. Otherwise, it just becomes a basic currency people grind for. Have it be something that you actually can only have, say, a certain number. Yep. Yeah. Well, sounds like I've got even more work to do. But I will not do it today. I think that has been really solid. I hope you enjoyed listening to me and seeing my new wiggly fancy model here. Which I should probably be a bit more animated around. I sit very statically. And yeah, I hope you look forward to the content coming out this weekend. I will try and do a stream on Thursday as well. Same time as usual. See how far we get. It just depends on life stuff. But yeah, once again, thank you all for joining me. Have a fantastic day. And speak to you all soon again. Bye bye.